Redfin has reported in the last 48 hours that single family homes, the median home price is up over 6% year on year and is just notched a record high of 434,000, previous high being 433,000. We're going to have a conversation with Beth Reverso, top 1% agent in the country, and really ask the hard questions. Affordability is bad. Can anybody afford to buy a home? What about Gen Z? What about millennials? Do they have a hope of getting on the property ladder, or is renter nation in our future? Beth, lots of stuff going on. What say you?
Hi there, Mike. So good to see you. Thank you. Yeah, I've been hearing so much talk about not just this, but the just this notion that is for a lot of people, they're just jumping right to the fact that it's a given that they will never own a home. That ship has sailed. You'll be a renter forever. And I understand and I feel for that. As a mother of three kids, I think about how are they going to own in the future. Thankfully I have, the knowledge and the resources to be able to help guide them. But I share that concern, and I know that it's difficult. Around here in King County, around the Seattle, Washington area, we're up 12% year over year. And in some places over here on the east side where I am, it's 20% year over year. So what is someone supposed to do with that? I can see how that's very discouraging, but it sounds kind of trite, but if people believe that they're never going to be able to own a home, what do you think our chances are of buying a home?
Zero.
Probably pretty much zero. But if you think, well, some people are doing this, how can I do it? Then you start to think about possibilities. And I remember I thought the same thing back in the day, and I don't want people to say, yeah, but houses cost $50 back then, and now they're, now it's almost $1 million in the Seattle area. Like you sit back down. But I want to say that just that trend has never ended. And I work with a lot of first-time buyers, 26 years selling houses, and then before that, working on my own home purchase and helping friends and family members buy. It's always been tough and been a challenge, and just the frame of reference shifts a little bit, but that has been a constant. So that narrative has never changed. And I think it goes for investing as well as just purchasing an owner-occupied home. It feels impossible, yet some are out there doing it. And so what can some of those people do? So one of the first things I would recommend is get your financial house in order. Find out what you need to do so you know what to work on. Find a trusted, I always direct people to a loan officer that can help them figure out what it's going to take to qualify, and then figure it out. They can run your credit, see if there's anything you need to start fixing on your credit. What do you need for a down payment? It's often a lot less than people think. A lot of times people assume you need 20% down or even 10, and you don't for owner occupied. You can get in for as little as 3.5% down with an FHA loan. Even zero if you qualify for a VA loan. So there's options out there, but I would start with getting your finances together so you know how much you need for a down payment, reserves, etc. And then think about things like you may not be necessarily wanting to do the things that are required to buy a home, but if you're willing to put yourself through some discomfort, there an inconvenience, sometimes for years. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I did it myself. I lived it. I know, so multiple times I've done it. But if you're willing to make those sacrifices, so one might be maybe you don't live in the area that's your first or even second or third choice area. Maybe you have to buy further out and commute longer than you want to. A lot of people aren't willing to do that, but that is often where the first thing you need to do. The first home does not need to be your forever home. Find something a little farther out just to get your foot in the door. And after time goes on and your situation improves and you gain more equity, then you can maybe trade up to an area that's more to your liking. But, buy on the outskirts, go farther out, find a house that is a fixer. Mm-hmm. And cosmetic fixers are my favorite, especially if they have a bad odor. If there's a bunch of cats lived in that house, for example, and you can tell, that could be your great opportunity there. So, you're going further out. Maybe it, has something about it that you can improve, but it's in an area that, that you feel like you can add value to it. House hacking. We always talk about we sing the praises of house hacking, but, when I moved in my first house, and almost everybody I know, when they moved into their first house, they had other people to help offset the cost. And that can, even when I was a kid, I remember, when I grew up in our house, my mom, she always, there was a rec room on the end of the house in a small house with only one bathroom, but she always rented that room out to somebody. And if you're worried about like, well, I have kids, well, she had kids, I have kids, we've done it. And if you just, again, you just have to be willing to work through some of that discomfort factor. Sometimes it ain't easy or pretty, but it can be done. You can screen people for, um, you can screen, do a criminal background check and check for, make sure their personality fit for being in your home. Ideally it's a basement or something where they're a little bit separate. That's what I did in my first house. I created a space in the basement that didn't exist in the fixer home I bought, and put somebody in there that paid more than half my mortgage. And you could even take that a step further by doing rent by the room. I know several people that are now very successful investors who started that way, occupied one room, maybe with a boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, to help pay for that one room, and then you've got three, get as many bedrooms as you can, but then have other people rent those bedrooms from you. Those are the things you can do to all those things. If you combine them all together, then you're really looking at something that's going to really have some potential to keep that cost down. Now, the other thing I would say is do not go for the shiny new listings. Those are the ones that are going to get the multiple offers. And sometimes it's going to take some time. It's going to take quite a few times at bat in my area. Sometimes you may have to make many offers before you get one that's accepted, because the lower price first home buyer tier is where the competition lives. Not just there, but that is one of the places, because you're up against investors, and sometimes those investors have cash, and that is what it is. But if you look for the times, every market has its seasonal swings. And for us, when it gets into summertime, it gets quieter. And holidays are the other time it can get a little quiet. And if you can go against the grain and find something during those times, or maybe on a holiday weekend where everyone's out of town, you might just find that that's where you get some success. So one of the other things I would say is that you may want to look at things for off-market you want to look for off-market opportunities. So now a lot of investors are used to this. We're used to like finding ways of like they actively prospect to off-market sellers. But I'm talking average folks out there that don't necessarily have those resources. What I recommend is if you're in a community, a small community where you want to target, or maybe there's a few of these out there, join the local Facebook page and group. And you can post something on there. I recommend people do this when they're looking for rentals in my area. I keep my ear to the ground, but then people often will find things off market. These houses just don't come up on the rental market at all. You just put it out there, even as old school as like pin something on the bulletin board at the post office. I'm not even kidding. Like this, I know this isn't 1950, but sometimes that little personal touch of just, I'm looking for a place in this community. If you know of anything, here's my number. And people will sometimes reach out to you that way. Talk to all your friends and family so they know that you're looking, because oftentimes somebody in your network might know somebody getting ready to sell. And not everybody wants to list their house on the market. Most do, but if they figure, hey, if I can skip all that and just sell to this person, they seem like a nice person and I want to help them, you can often get into a home that way. And I think it's a really underused. I don't see that happening that much. So, but even walking around, knocking on doors. I had a client once that did that in a community. He went on there a Saturday afternoon when everybody was home. He just went and chatted with people mowing their grass and working outside and just talked with them. That was a brilliant idea. So there's all sorts of things people can do. And I'd hope people can feel some hope knowing that there are some possibilities for this. But once you get into a home and start building that equity, that is a tool. Now you have to do this carefully, but I used the equity in my first owner occupied home. I used that to help me purchase rental properties as time went on. And if I didn't get that first home, it would have been very difficult to buy that next home or first rental property.
Yeah, I think, I think there's a lot of folks that are just giving up because of the doomers out there spreading doom. On this channel, we try to bring real life, real people that are doing it, right? You got into your first house hack when you were, essentially you were a server. Dion
Yep.
got into this when he was making 17 bucks an hour. And to your point about taking time getting your credit right, Dion tells you it took 2 years before he
Mm-hmm.
got his first property. Once he decided to do it, that's a 2 year runway of sacrifice and consistency. Um, it's absolutely possible. I'm reminded of my first conversation with Meet Kevin, who was able to buy in Southern California, always been an expensive market. He bought an owner-occ home with a 203K loan, right? Talk about buying a fixer
Yeah.
and getting a loan to do that. We've really talked house hacking. Anna Kelly even goes backwards. She talks about selling the big home in Texas and buying a fourplex where she could house hack. It was the best financial move she ever made. It is absolutely possible, folks. But I promise you, as Beth started this, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. It is that simple. And I will give you one more fact. There will be roughly 800,000 first-time home buyers this year. Between existing home sales and new home sales, about 800,000 first-time home buyers will get it done. 800,000 people are doing it. A large percentage of those being millennials and quite possibly Gen Z. So again, it is happening. It is happening every day in every state. So don't believe these fear mongers, these doomers. Dude, these doomers get paid to scare you. Why are
Yeah.
you rewarding people to scare you? It's mind-boggling that you listen to this nonsense. They have been talking about a housing crash for 5 years. We just got a record home price. Do you need any more evidence that these charlatans and clowns don't know what they're talking about? I mean, just stop watching already.
I've been hearing it literally for decades. That's one of the advantages of being in a business for a really long time is you start to notice, and it's easy just to dismiss it because I mean it's like, sure, be mindful. I watch your daily economic show, the update just to see daily financial news to keep on up to date on what's happening out there because we all want to be informed. But some people just spin the narrative constantly negative because it's in their benefit to do so. And some people can make these shorts or TikToks or whatever about funny things about how hard it is to buy a house or like we'll never be able to buy a house. And sure, you were able to do it, but we can't because you all ruined it for us or somebody, some corporate landlords, whatever it is, somebody ruined it for them. Do not get sucked into that and just don't believe that because I thought that was true for me too, and then found a way. So it's just going to have to get creative and talk to people who are doing it. Find somebody who's doing it. Of course, if you're young multimillionaires, no problem. But there's other people, regular folks out there that are buying houses too, even in the more expensive areas. One other thing I didn't mention that you might want to look into is maybe getting a cosigner or buying with someone else. I've had some people, there was one we sold recently. I was a listing agent, but it was a group of 4 adults purchased a house together. And you have it written up with a lawyer. So it's like if this person wants to sell, we do this, blah, 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 blah. You get it all sorted out. But then they got the house they wanted, and it's a great foot in the door to build. They've already built equity in it. It's a launch pad.
Yeah.
So, if you're just willing to put up with the discomfort for a while, then you can do it, And I had lots of roommates as a renter, and that, okay, whatever. People seem to be very accepting of that.
Mhm.
You live in some, subpar place with a whole group of people and you can do a similar thing and own it, be the one that owns it. So,
Yeah.
um,
I think there's so much truth in all this. Again, I think there's a lot of expectation setting. Your first home won't be your forever home. You're not likely to get everything you want. You're likely going to have to go out of area a little bit. That's even for investors. I mean, Dion has been
yeah,
shopping in the same space for a while, and he didn't find his great deal until he went 30 minutes to a new
yeah,
market, right? Even investors, sometimes you got to go out of market to find the opportunity. You're not going to get a 3,000 square foot home. I mean, there's just so
yeah.
many mismatch of expectations.
Mhm.
The first home is just that. It's an entry level. It's not meant to
Yeah.
be that forever home. And it is absolutely possible. Again, I take comfort in knowing roughly 800,000 people between existing home sales and new home sales will buy their first home this year. So it's
I love
absolutely
that.
possible. You got
I
to
love
just
that.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, people are doing it every day. 800,000 people. That's a lot. You know, thousands every day are purchasing their first home. Millennials, I believe, are the largest group of home buyers. Gen Z is coming up in the ranks, you know,
You know the
and
crazy thing about Gen Zs? This is an
yeah.
amazing stat for all the doomers. Gen Z, age for age, has bought more homes than millennials and almost as much homes as Gen X.
Wow. I hadn't
Gen
even
Z is
heard that.
crushing it. Yes, Gen
I
Z is crushing it.
love it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah,
So there's ways to do it. Your way might vary a little bit. Everyone's circumstances are going to be a little different, but just start putting your mind in just start kind of thinking about the how can it be done rather than it can't be done, but how can I do it? And sometimes the answer is not immediately apparent, but over time you'll figure it out. But just I don't
Step
know.
one,
Yeah.
step one, block doomers. Folks,
Hmm.
your mindset, your belief is that important. If you
Yeah.
have one doomer in your social media feed, I promise you, they will poison you. You do not
Yeah.
want to drink a glass of water with a couple of drops of oil. It's not what you want to
No.
do.
I
Stop putting
blocked
that
them.
nonsense. Yeah.
Maybe 2, 3 years. I don't know. I blocked one of the main ones 2 or 3 years ago because I didn't like seeing that person's face popping up in my, even just seeing the thumbnail was enough to drive me
Ah,
crazy. I'm like, I don't want that person even in my
yeah.
subconscious for even a second. So I
Yep.
blocked that person, and then all the other ones kind of disappeared too after that. And then the algorithm tracks what you want to see. And now I'm getting all the things about, you and people on your channel and other people that are doers that are
Mm,
positive and making
yeah.
things happen. And that to me is just a much better place to live because who wants to feel defeated? That's just not a good way to
No, who
feel.
why
And
do you want to watch social media to get scared? I mean,
no,
seriously, why do you want to watch it and be scared as opposed to
no.
being motivated or educated or
What I think it
inspired?
is it helps people feel better about doing nothing because they feel like,
Exactly.
yeah, I
For-
can't. This person saying it's okay to not only is it okay to do nothing, but it's the smart thing to do nothing. So I'm smart by doing nothing.
Yeah, doomers have tapped into I mean, doomers are a genius. If you're comfortable spreading doom and fear, you can get rich. But
Hmm.
I don't know how you sleep at night.
I
Five
couldn't
years
do
of
that
doom.
with a clear conscience. I just couldn't do it because it's hurting people.
Oh
And
yeah,
even if there is a little bit of a dip for a while, like we had one in the Seattle area, we're just now back up to our peak from May of 22. And it took 2 years, but we're back,
yep.
okay. All right. It dipped for a couple years. Now it's back.
Hmm. That's crazy.
Okay.
Seattle's back to the peak.
All right. Well, it's
Yeah.
fine, but then looking at the last 10 years, it's gone up about 150% from where it was 10 years ago. So even with the dips here and there. So that's the nature of
Yep.
markets as they go up and down, but over time, almost everywhere, it's going to continue up. And you should never purchase where a downturn would crush you and get fixed rate debt with payments you can afford. And if the market goes down, speaking as someone who purchased at the worst time possible, March of 2007, right
Ooh,
before the big crash happened,
ouch.
I
Yuck.
purchased right at the top of that. And those were some hairy years. We've talked about that in some of the other videos, how I had to go through a lot to keep my house, but I'm still there. So you live through it. If you don't have to sell during the dip and you can afford your payment, you're good. Just keep
Yeah.
on trucking.
Keep
Don't
keep
let
on
it
keeping on.
discourage you. Just hang in there. So
Folks,
it can be
we bring
done.
you you bring multiple millionaires on this channel. Everyone has a story. Everyone started rough. Nobody had a silver spoon. We all had it all sucked the first 5 years, but it is also worth it. Getting
Yeah.
on the property ladder, owning assets, understanding inflation's a feature, not a bug. The rich get rich because they own assets. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to keep being broke, if you want to keep get running over, watch the doomers. Just keep it up. They're clearly helping you do nothing. But
Their brand is about discouraging people. That's their
right.
brand, and their livelihood depends on it. So,
Their livelihood depends on creating doom and fear. What a horrible existence. But yes, that's what they do. And they're making
yeah,
lots of money doing it.
block them. Get some
Block them.
positivity in your life, and is it going to be easy? Nobody on this channel ever said it was. Is it worthwhile? Absolutely. I can't even imagine where I would be without investing in real estate, or even just getting that first foot in the door, even if I did nothing else. So start surrounding yourself with people that are going to encourage you and guide you. There's a lot of them out there. A lot of people out there want to help you. And
Absolutely.
you've got this community as a resource too. So feel free to chip in and ask for help. There's a lot of givers in this one rental at a time community. They're here with open arms to help guide you to getting into real estate ownership and investment.
Very, very cool. Well, Beth, you're amazing. Thanks for being here. If somebody
Thank
wanted to
you.
buy or sell in King County, or better yet, get a referral to a
Yeah.
top 1% agent, how do they do that?
They can find me at BethTraversogroup.com.
BethTraversogroup.com. Go there now. Ask for a referral. Thanks, Beth.
Thank you. Bye-bye.